Good, what's up, guys? Welcome to Ask the Hub. Ask the Hub is, for those of you that don't know, is an anonymous forum that I started in which you guys can sort of submit your questions, comments, or concerns anonymously, and I'll try my best to sort of advise you or just give my advice, my input on certain issues. So this is the first episode. I know it's been a while since I released the official form, but I finally got around to answering some of the questions. And just for like transparency, so you guys know how this is sort of gonna run, is each episode's gonna, like, I'm not gonna answer all the questions that are on the forum right now. I'm gonna try to keep the videos short and answer the questions individually, and the questions that are similar, I'm gonna group them together and answer all the questions. So in this episode, I'm gonna go through some of the questions that I have and start answering them. So first question, this is the first question that I got. It says, I really enjoyed the podcast on Bakersfield because it definitely is a taboo topic. But the biggest problem is our peers that also judge us for everything. People get bullied like, ha, eta pajigasi, and blah, blah, blah. It's not fair and should begin in our generation before we can even get our parents, even before we get to our parents. Now, as a Punjabi community, if we support each other and not talk more shit, I think it would definitely benefit the Punjabi community. This is an amazing thing you're doing. Keep up the good work. May Waheguru bless you. First of all, thank you, whoever said that. And yeah, to comment on that, I do agree. It does start within our youth community. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. Sometimes, like, somebody's doing something or somebody like fucks up, right? And I'm like, oh, like it's chida kita. And even like the pajigisi, like that is a big issue in our community, and we are oftentimes the first people to judge. And I think I said this in my first episode that I released, was sort of, we don't know the story behind why that person might have ran away or why certain things happened. And in our community, we oftentimes do just blame our parents, like, hey, it's their fault. They're making assumptions. But I would say, like, we as a youth sometimes are fast to react to that too. And I'm not saying like that's our fault either, because oftentimes we don't know the situation and we are quick to like judge people. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a question, but I just wanted to say I do agree. We do need to start within our youth, I would say, and then slowly we can go, talk to our parents about these issues and say, hey, like, you need to change as well. But again, like, a lot of that comes from that we were raised in these households where that was the norm, right? Where we see certain things and we're like, oh, like, it's so different for our culture because we are, I mean, not saying everybody is, but a lot of us are first generation kids. So we do hold values that are both Western and like sort of back home Punjab or Sikh cultures, like perspectives, and sometimes it gets hard to balance. But yeah, I agree, taking that first step and sort of realizing that we are the ones that wrong too, not just the parents. That's about it that I had for that thing. Another question that was similar that I got was, my family keeps comparing me to my cousins, other kids, as competition, but those kids play goody two shoes, so like they're not actually as good as like their parents make them sound or your family thinks. And again, like, that's another issue in our community because oftentimes we can't tell our parents the things that we're doing because it's going to be seen as a negative connotation. I don't really think it's them trying to play goody two shoes. It is, but they're hiding it from their parents for a reason. We don't really struggle as a youth to sort of create like an open dialogue with our parents and tell them about the things that we're doing. And if not that, I personally, I wouldn't blame those kids for being goody two shoes because they're just trying to reflect better for their parents and like sort of paint themselves as a better person, which is not always the right thing to do, but sometimes it is hard to have those conversations. But in terms of getting compared, yeah, it is tough. Like, sometimes you get the blame, you get caught up doing something, and it's like, oh, I don't even know like an example name to use. I don't want to offend anybody, but like, oh, little Tintu, like, he's doing this, right? Like, he's in college, he's doing this, but in reality, we know Tintu's out there like partying or like stuff like that. But the parents don't know. But then again, it's sort of like, is he really gonna go tell his parents that, hey, I party? Like, I don't know. That's sort of like how I look at that situation. But in terms of like getting compared, yeah, it sucks. But then I think it's sort of just talking to them and telling them like, hey, I'm trying my best too, this is what I'm working on. And like, again, it's all with time. Like, maybe Dintu is out partying, but he is getting his work done. And the same thing for you. Maybe you're just taking longer to get your work done. I don't know what's going on, And I think that's something, like, looking at it from their perspective, the person that is playing the goody two shoes. I mean, I would say I play goody two shoes too in front of the parent. Like I'm like super nice. Like I wouldn't say that's playing goody two shoes. That's just I just act differently. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. Uh, Next thing was families are more worried about their uncles or family members disowning them or stop talking to them instead of their own kids' worries. Again, I think that ties into like the. I think I discussed it within the Bakersfield episode, and it was we like our community is. I think I talked about it with my parents too. It was we come from a culture where like that family or like that community type of bond really matters to us. And if you think about it, our parents or even ourselves, I've noticed it here at school, we connect more with our people. And if there is something that sort of puts us at odds with our own community, you sort of feel isolated. But then again, like you're saying, it is their own kids' worries. And that's sort of where our community needs to realize that it's not just what other people think. Again, like it always comes down to that. What are other people going to think? I know it's super cliche now. But at the end of the day, we really need to realize that we can't always let people dictate what we're going to do. These uncles and aunties. I mean, family is important, right? But sometimes when it's not in the interest for your child, and sometimes as children, not children, but like, for our parents, sometimes we don't realize why they're saying these things, and it's sort of getting like they have a shell and they don't really tell us why they don't want us doing certain things, and sort of getting underneath that and realizing, oh, this is exactly why they don't want us doing these things. I know I realized that with my parents when first they were telling me not to do, it wasn't not to do, but they were hesitant with me to start this podcast. They're like, oh, this is going to happen. It's going to lead to this. But I was being really ignorant and not really asking questions. No, sorry, I wasn't asking questions. I was just like, yeah, they just don't want me to do it because they don't want me to do it. But yeah, that's personally, I don't know if that answered the question, but that was sort of my take on it, sort of realizing where they come from too, and even the need to adapt sometimes for our parents. But like I was saying, that whole community mindset gets to them, I would say, like, so, because if they do, side with their kid, which they should, depending on the issue, or like maybe the kid needs to understand, but sometimes it's like sort of being isolated in this world, being like in America, being a minority, and that was it for that question, I would say. The next one was Orthodox families. Families should modernize with time and not be stuck back in time. And I'm not 100% sure what this question is referring to, but I guess what my take on it is like maybe even sexism in the Punjabi community, maybe like letting more freedom, right? With like we had that episode, having more freedom, like allowing the same liberties and freedom that guys have with girls. It can also be like topics such as talking about issues like intercourse, and all that type of stuff. Or I don't know, that's my take on it. And yeah, I agree. We do sort of need to realize that we're living in a more progressive type. We are young individuals. We do need to, not just us, like families, obviously, need to modernize it as well. We can't just keep the same cultural norms that we had back home in Punjab, or even here. Sometimes, the cultural norms are very restrictive, and we sort of need to adapt with that. I guess adapt with the times, right? Or not even just times, like with the needs, right? So like even going out and all that type of stuff. I think that's what you were getting at. If not, you can submit another one. So like those 4 questions, like this is sort of like the layout that it's gonna run with. I know I sped through it right now. I'm trying to like figure it out, but I really encourage, if anybody else, like viewers, have any comments or any advice that they can make in reference to these and put their 2 cents in their comment, I highly encourage that. That's exactly what I want, because I might have not hit a point that you guys have gone through, or I might have not had interpreted the question right, and you might have interpreted it a different way, and you can sort of put your 2 cents in and sort of give advice to that person, or have your own opinion on it in the YouTube comments, SoundCloud, Apple I'm not sure if you can do comments in Apple Podcasts, but you know what I mean. Instagram as well. I'll post the questions on there, and you guys can comment, hey, no, this is what I think. But this is sort of the layout of how Ask the Hub is going to work. I'm going to try to group together a bunch of questions, and answer them to the best of my ability. If you guys have advice for me on how I can tackle this better, please do so. But this is my first shot at it. I hope you guys got a little bit of insight. A lot of these actually weren't questions, they were comments the first time around. So maybe the next few I'll get more questions, but keep commenting on the Ask the Hub. Use it. It's all in all the YouTube descriptions. So if you guys have any questions, issues, or anything you guys want to hear my perspective on, please do so and submit. And from that end, that's about it for me. Thank you guys.